Hi, everyone. Welcome back, and thanks for being here. Today, I have a new story to share. My name is Theodore, and here's one hard truth I've come to accept. Some betrayals cut too deep. Some wounds don't heal with time or talk. When my daughter stood there, defending her mother's betrayal, I didn't argue. I simply reached into my pocket, handed her a folded note, and said, "You've got 30 minutes. Pack your things, you're leaving." Because choices have consequences. And mine began 19 years ago. I met Ruby in our second year of college. She was magnetic, beautiful, sharp, the kind of woman who made the world pause. We were in different departments, but we kept bumping into each other, by the library, near the cafeteria. At first, it was just casual conversation. But those moments stretched, grew longer, warmer, until one day, we were dating. I fell hard. Back then, everything felt light. No bills. No real stress. Just us, and the promise of a future waiting to be built. I used to look at her and think, damn, I'm lucky. Then came graduation, and with it, reality. We were barely out of school, stumbling into adulthood, when Ruby found out she was pregnant. The news hit me like a brick. Not because I didn't want a child. I did, but because I felt unprepared. No steady job. No savings. Just a fresh diploma and fragile hope. But I told myself, this is what being a man means, stepping up, even when you're terrified. We talked and decided to get married. Nothing big, just a small, quiet ceremony surrounded by people who mattered. A few months later, Maria was born. Everything changed. I was no longer just a young man trying to make it. I was a father. We didn't have much, but we had each other, and this tiny human who needed us completely. That's how our family began. Two scared kids, trying to make it work in a world that didn't hand out shortcuts. And I was scared, deeply. While my friends leaned on their parents or drifted through life, I was waking up at 5 a.m., chasing any job that could feed us. Whatever it was, I took it. I grinded. I carried the weight because I believed in what we were building. And as Maria grew, so did my love for her. That bond anchored me. I wanted to give her more than I ever had, even if it meant I had nothing left for myself. Being her dad, it never felt like a burden. It felt like purpose. By the time she started school, Ruby told me she wanted to return to work. I supported her. We'd been living off one income for years. It was tight. Her going back felt like a breath of fresh air. Our days found a rhythm. Me waking early, helping Maria get ready, heading out to work. Ruby would pick her up in the afternoons. Evenings were for dinner together. Simple. Familiar. But time, it doesn't slow down. One day, my little girl chasing butterflies became a teenager discussing college majors. It all blurred. And in that blur, I started to notice something else. Something off. When you've shared a home with someone for nearly 20 years, you pick up on the smallest things. The way they say your name. The pauses. The silence between words. That's how it started with Ruby. Quiet shifts. Tiny rifts. Maria was almost 19. We were deep in college prep and final year chaos. I figured maybe Ruby was stressed like the rest of us. Until one night, I suggested a short family trip. Just the three of us. A chance to reconnect before Maria flew the nest. I said it while Ruby was sunk into the couch, eyes glued to her phone, like she always was lately. She didn't even glance up, just muttered, "We'll see." Eyes locked on her screen. That moment hit me like a punch straight to the chest. It's hard to explain unless you've been there. But there's something soul-crushing about being brushed off like you don't matter. I sat there thinking, no one deserves to be dismissed like that. After that, I started watching more closely. Ruby was always on her phone, always keeping the screen tilted just out of view. At dinner, she was physically present, but emotionally gone. I told myself not to jump to conclusions, but the feeling wouldn't let go. I kept asking, who is she always texting when we're supposed to be together? I didn't want to snoop. I wanted to trust. But trust starts to rot when you're the only one still fighting to hold it up. Sometimes, life doesn't wait for you to go looking. It just hands you the truth. Ruby had trouble getting into one of her old email accounts and asked me to reset the password. Nothing out of the ordinary. She'd set it up years ago and used my email as the recovery contact. So when the reset link landed in my inbox, I clicked it, typed in a new password, and gave her the info. I was just about to close the page, but something in me hesitated. I opened her iMessages. Most of it was harmless, conversations with people we both knew. I was ready to exit and forget I ever looked, until I saw a name I didn't recognize. I clicked, and what I found cracked something deep inside me. It wasn't just small talk. It wasn't innocent. There was warmth, familiarity, emotion. This wasn't an old friend. This was someone Ruby had history with. I scrolled, heart pounding, piecing together a story I never knew existed. There were photos, some of them together, some of her alone. Selfies I'd never seen. And the timeline. That's what shattered me. These messages weren't new. They stretched back years, quiet, hidden exchanges in the dead of night. I read his words. It was always supposed to be us. And her replies, never shutting him down, never closing the door. Then came the line that made my hands shake. He mentioned the time they reconnected, during a break in her relationship with me, right before we got married. The same time she told me she was staying with her cousin to clear her head. Back then, I believed her. She came back saying she wanted to make things work. Not long after, she said she was pregnant. We rushed into marriage, thinking it was the right thing. 19 years later, I'm asking myself if the entire foundation of my life was a lie. I didn't take screenshots of everything. I couldn't. My hands were trembling. My mind was unraveling. But I saved a few pieces, just in case. Then I closed the app and sat in silence for hours, too wrecked to cry, too stunned to move. And for the first time in my life, a question entered my mind that I never thought I'd ask. Was Maria even mine? The thought made me sick. I didn't confront Ruby right away. I needed to know the truth before I tore everything apart. So quietly, behind closed doors, I made arrangements. Collected the samples. Sent them off for testing. And then, I waited. That week felt endless. I couldn't eat. Could barely sleep. Every sound, every glance from Ruby or Maria, it all felt like static. Then, one afternoon, the envelope arrived. I took it straight to my room, sat on the edge of the bed, and opened it. She wasn't mine. Biologically, Maria was not my daughter. There's no manual for that kind of devastation. No script for what to say when you realize you've been lied to for almost 2 decades. I sat there, motionless, numb. But then, something snapped. I wasn't going to fake it. I wasn't going to protect the illusion. I needed answers. I waited until Maria wasn't home. This conversation, it had to be just the two of us. I walked into the living room and looked Ruby in the eye. How long have you been in contact with him? She crossed her arms. What are you talking about? My voice rose. Don't play with me. Her tone turned defensive. But she saw it. I wasn't bluffing. It's not what you think. We've only kept in contact. I haven't done anything with him. I stared at her, trying to keep my voice steady. So you don't think staying in touch with someone you clearly still have feelings for is cheating? You lied to me. You built this family on a lie. You never told me there was a chance Maria wasn't mine. She didn't answer, just deflected, firing back. Why were you going through my phone in the first place? And that right there, that was the moment I knew. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She just wanted to flip it, make me the villain, for daring to uncover the truth of my own life. That's when Maria walked through the door, backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds in. She froze the second she saw us, eyes bouncing from her mother to me, confused. What's going on? She asked, pulling out one earbud, stepping forward. Before Ruby could twist the truth, I raised a hand. I found out your mother's been in contact with someone from her past. Her ex, someone I didn't even know she was still speaking to. Maria's voice shot up, defensive, automatic. Okay, but just talking to someone doesn't mean she did anything wrong. Why are you acting like this is some huge betrayal? I didn't argue. I just reached into my pocket and pulled out the folded DNA results. I handed them to her gently. Read it. She took the paper, puzzled. Her eyes moved across the lines once, then again. Her lips parted slightly, silently trying to process it. And then, she stopped. Frozen. Calmly, I said, you've got 30 minutes. Pack your things and leave this house. Ruby opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Maria just sat there, the paper trembling in her hands. I turned to Ruby, holding in everything that threatened to break me apart, and said, you made me raise another man's child for 19 years. I will never forgive you. Then I walked out of the room, because there was nothing left to say. Now that you know the full story, it's been hell. 19 years of deception. 19 years raising a child who wasn't mine, never even knowing I was living someone else's truth. And what eats at me most isn't just what happened, but what I don't know. Did Ruby always know? Did she look at that little girl and lie to my face every single day? Or did she convince herself it didn't matter, that I was a good enough man to love a child that wasn't mine? so the truth could stay buried? I don't know. And the fact that I don't, that I'll probably never know, makes the pain cut even deeper. Because whether she meant to deceive me or not, she still chose to. She stole my right to decide what kind of life I wanted. She made a decision for me that no one has the right to make. And yes, I know, fatherhood isn't just about biology. I lived that. I breathed it. But when biology is wrapped in betrayal, buried under nearly 2 decades of silence, it becomes a wound that words can't reach. A kind of pain only a few will ever truly understand. Still, through all this, I've learned a few hard lessons. Lessons I want to pass on to anyone listening, especially the men who think, that could never be me. Because I used to think the same. First, never ignore your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Distance in a relationship doesn't appear out of nowhere. It starts with deception, with silence, with that little shift when someone who once looked you in the eyes now hides behind a glowing screen. Second, don't assume loyalty just because you've sacrificed. You can give someone your time, your love, your energy, your entire life, and it still won't be enough to keep them faithful. Love doesn't always mean loyalty, and loyalty doesn't always last. Third, the truth has a clock. You can bury it, silence it, ignore it, but one day it will rise. It took 19 years for mine to surface, and when it did, it flipped my world upside down. So if you're holding on to doubt, afraid to dig deeper because the truth might break you, know this: silence is more dangerous. Lies rot everything, slowly. But truth, as painful as it is, draws a line in the sand. It gives you a place to start again. To those watching, thank you for listening. Sharing this hasn't been easy. But if this story helps even one person avoid the hell I went through, maybe it means something. Please like and share this video if it meant something to you. As for me, I'm still in the middle of it. The divorce? It's a battlefield, and every day feels like war. But I'm standing my ground.